Hey, welcome back. This is my 1982 Suzuki FA50 moped. Doing a bunch of other work on it and some other videos, but today is a dedicated video to just new tire, new tube, new brake shoes on the front. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible here. There's nobody else put a video up about this on YouTube that I can find. First thing you got to take off is the fender. In order to do that, I've already got the speedometer cable disconnected, but we got to take the brake cable off right here. Don't lose those, or this. And this should pull out just like so. These screws up here are so rusted that I can't get them undone, but fortunately you only have to take off either down here or up there and it'll slide off. Even this one's a little rusty. Sprayed them down good with PB Blaster yesterday. This one's still sticking a little bit. I wanted to strip out the Phillips. There's a mud flap. Just think this was brand new back in 2005. I'm still having trouble finding a new one, but I might just make one out of a flap of rubber. It doesn't have to say Suzuki on it, I guess. Alright, so looks like the next thing we gotta do is take out the axle bolt. There's a nut on this side and the end of the bolt on this side. I'll use my impact. There's the nut. And there's one more Phillips screw on this side for the fender bits and pieces. I should, got my cables in the way right now, should be able to need to hammer on that a little bit. I've never had this one apart. I've had the back apart before. cover the front. It's definitely loose. There we go. Okay, there we go. Out. Now let's get this fender out of the way. I don't know what just fell off, but we're gonna find out. Looks like some kind of bushing from the other side. Okay. I'll get this over on the table and get set up over there to start working on these brakes. All right, first thing you have to do, take off the speedometer cable. Set that aside. Just lift out the hub here. Yeah, I would say my my brake shoes don't have much left on them. Still work like they're designed to, though. We're going to set that aside for right now. That's going to need some new grease in that bearing. But right now, first, before we do all that stuff, we're going to go ahead and put the new tire and tube on it. First, let out all the air. I'm just using this small tool for removing valve stem valves. There's the valve. It's rusty in there and dirty. Oh yeah, look at all that. Gonna be doing some cleaning here, I guess. These might be a bit of a pickle. These tires are dried out. Yep, very dried out. patch on there. That wasn't me. That was the guy who put this tire on for me years ago. Well, that's junk. Fortunately, I know the new tires should go on way easier than this. That's junk. Yeah, a little bit of rust in there. I might have to wire brush that, clean it up. I'll have to put a new spoke protector in there, a homemade one. So let me go get this cleaned up. Well folks, I got it cleaned up, but if you can't tell, I'm in the market for a new rim and some new spokes. Right now it's going to work, but later when I do the full restoration on this thing, I'm going to need to get a new rim and some new spokes. So right now, the rubber protector that went around for the spokes to keep them from poking holes in the inner tube, that's gone. I'm going to replace it with Gorilla Tape. Cheap, inexpensive, and it works. Should be enough. What we're going to do is we're just going to take it, wrap it around just like so. I did this on my tractor tires. I know it works. Got to keep around the valve stem hole here, so I have to poke a hole in it and try to fight it putting the tube in. Come back here. One last little piece here. That'll do the trick. Set that aside for a second. Got some new tires here. These are actually OEM style. They're just like that. The old one, let me compare it. I'll show it to you. You see the difference? This is the ones I put on it 2005 or so. This is the one that's going on. This is the actual tire tread style that is original to the Moped. So we're gonna get these on there. First I gotta prep them. First thing you do, get yourself some baby powder. This stuff does wonders when you're putting a tube in a tire. Basically, it keeps the rubber, the new sticky rubber, from sticking to anything else, and just makes it easier so you don't get wrinkles that pinch that could cause a hole. Okay, so these are non-directional tires, so they can go on either way. So we got a brand new tire here, so be careful. This screwdriver is way too sharp. This one's rather more blunt. You don't want to hurt your new tire or your tube when you get to that point. Okay. Halfway there. Now let's prep the tube. These are Sedona brand, made in China, of course. Prep the valve stem before we put it in. Let's get the cap off. Get this nut. This nut stays on, don't take that off. Get the valve out. Don't mix it up with the old one. Then prep this with baby powder. You can use as much of this stuff as you want, but it doesn't really take a whole lot. Okay. Here's the valve stem hole. You want to get this thing in first. Just carefully tuck it in there. Doing your best not to get it folded in any way or pinched. We're going to get this valve stem tucked in. Sometimes these can be a pickle, but you definitely want to get it in first so you're not stretching the tube in places it doesn't need to get stretched. Okay, we got it through the rim. Now what you can do is you can go ahead and tuck the rest of this tube very slowly and carefully down inside of the rim. And then you can adjust. You want this pointing straight toward the middle of the axle, so you can turn it just by turning your tire. Get it straight. I'm going to stick my fingers in there real quick to make sure nothing's wonky or anything. Then you put this nut on. There's my wrench. This one's a 12mm, sure enough is. Take your time with this. Make sure you're not pinching nothing. And basically tighten this down against that other nut that's on the other side of the rim. It doesn't have to be crazy tight, but you definitely want it tight enough to where it's not going to just walk off by itself because of the vibrations of the scooter. Okay, that's in there. We don't need to do anything else right now except take a peek, make sure nothing's pinched up. Oh, that popped out. Let's get that tucked back in right behind the rim there. Okay, now here comes the part that you got to be very careful with. I'm going to take some of this Gorilla Tape. I'm going to put it around the end of my screwdriver because I don't have all the fancy tools that you're supposed to use. Well, I have the right ones, but they're for big tires. Way too big for this little thing. And this is just going to help save you from puncturing your tube before you even have a chance to put air in it. Okay, I'm going to do this screwdriver too, just in case I need a third one. Okay. Now you can start anywhere. I always start by the valve stem I don't know why, that's just what I do. And you can do most of this by hand. Matter of fact, you probably want to do most of it by hand. And if you can get all of it by hand, that's great. Alright, we're at the point now where I kind of need some tools. Stick this one over here. Kind of just as a stopper. And I'm going to carefully work this tire on from this side. Being careful not to touch or pinch that tube if I can help it. Well, oh, that went well. Okay, the tape's not working very well. Nonetheless, this tire's going on. I've done this tape trick before in the past, just never used Gorilla Tape. So we'll go back to what I've used before, which is electrical tape. Electrical tape's not working for me today. Unfortunately, I haven't grabbed the tube yet, the screwdriver. Okay, she's on there. Alright, next thing I gotta do is I gotta fire up my air compressor. I'll save you the pain of listening to that, and then get some air in this thing. This is the front tire. According to the spec sheet, this is supposed to be a 21 psi. The rear tire is supposed to be a 28. Okay, we're all set up here. What I do with these is I don't put a lot of air in them at first. I just let it out, and I give it a little bit of a massage to try to help that tube kind of get seated in there in a way where nothing's pinched or anything. Now we're going to go ahead and take it up to 21 psi. You probably can't see that, but I can't even see it. I went to 40. A little high. Alright, so I'm confident that the tube is in a good position. We're going to go ahead and put the valve back in. The lighting's really bad, so I gotta look at this from a different angle, but we're gonna give it 21 psi. If we'll even measure it. Nine psi. Everything looks pretty good. We're going to set that aside. I'll check the PSI later, see if it's still holding. Now we're going to get set up to do the brakes. Okay, now we're going to do the brake shoes. Got to get these springs out of here. There's two of them. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the spring on the back side with the pliers, pushing it up so I can get a hold of it like that. Alright, that's out. Have to wipe that clean. There's a bunch of crud in here. Alright, so there's the old ones. Here's the new ones. You got two new springs here and two new brake shoes. If you look at the difference, it might be hard to tell. Let's see if I can get them lined up. There's about, I'm gonna guess, somewhere between a 1/16 of an inch and an 1/8 of an inch of wear on these ones. So these are supposed to match right up, so we're going to go ahead and put them in. You got a round side and a round side. These are both the same, and then the flat sides go against the brake actuator down here. This could be fun. Wow, those are tough. I wonder if I can do it. We're gonna try. I wonder if I can get the springs on like this and then just Okay, okay. I don't know how well this will work. It might work. Some pretty stout springs compared to the old ones, which are still pretty stout, but I don't know. I might go back with the old springs. We're going to give this a shot. Okay. Okay, those are on there. Can I spread it enough to get it over? This might be tricky. Tricky, yes. I think doable. Man, those things are something else. I know I can pull this apart far enough to get over that, the flat part, but getting this other part on here. Get a smaller screwdriver. I get that spread apart enough. Got it going crazy on me. There's a tool for this, for spreading these springs out. I don't have one. I'm starting to wish I did. Try the old springs. See if I can get it to work a little bit easier. Let's give it a shot. Oh, well, duh. Should have gone with this first time. Look at that. There we go. That should work pretty good. Now deep down inside of here, down here is the speedometer worm gear. It's all nylon. So I'm going to do myself a favor and I'm going to give it a drop of oil. Just to make things a little bit more happy down there. Okay, this is ready to go. Old one's out of the way. New springs I'm not going to use. So this fits down in here just like so. Okay, now I think we're ready to put it back on. Yep, that grabs really nice. Okay. All right, let's go put this all back together. All right, let's get this wheel back on here. This bushing that fell out earlier on the other side. Here's the axle bolt. Let's get this side started. And we'll work on the other side. Washer and a nut. That seems to be pretty good. Now, the next thing will be the brake. No, I'm not going to do the brake yet. Here's the speedometer cable. I pulled the cable out, I greased it really good, cleaned it, greased it, and now we're going to put it back in. Gotta get the clock in there just right. we go. Gotta be gentle here because that's just nylon. So we're not gonna go crazy tight now. I'm probably just gonna do it as tight as I can do with my fingers. Then this is ready to go up to the speedometer. Then here's the brake. That part's got to go in there. Okay. Here's this spring slash dust shroud. This goes on next, just like that. And it's got to get fitted in to this pin. Hopefully there's enough thread sticking out. I can start this nut. There isn't. Just adjusted the brake handle. That should give me enough. Now, the way there's a specific way to adjust these things, I'm sure, but I've never looked. But about halfway through the travel of the brake handle, I wanna feel good resistance. That way, that first part of the squeeze, that first half, is just kind of like just an easy braking, and then after that, you can really clamp down if you really need to stop quick. That feels right there, about right where I want it. Then speedometer cable. Oh well, shoot. This is supposed to go through the fender, the part in the fender. I guess I'm taking this off real quick. We'll put it back on. So I got to put the fender on before I can run cables. There's a spring inside of this part right here, so you want to make sure it stays inside the rubber. That one started to come out, so got to tuck it back in there. All right, fender time. Well, if I didn't do it crazy, that bolt's got to go through here too. All right, I'm gonna stop the video here for a second, fix that, and then come right back. Okay, we're back. I got it back on there the right way. All right, now I can actually run my cables the way they're supposed to be through this little slot on the fender. Oh boy. I guess it's all coming back apart again. Got to get this dialed into the pin on the other side. Okay, now we're good. So brake cable goes in there, speedometer cable up through here. I'll get that tied in later. Okay. All right, so that's in there. On goes this spring and rubber assembly. I really want that spring to stay inside the rubber. Okay. Next goes the pin. Get back in there. Get that just where I like it. Okay, that's right where I like it. Now we'll go ahead and tighten the action bolt. I gotta put the washer and nut back on over here on this side that I took off a second ago. Yep, brakes are working the way they should. Now there's one more thing I'm going to do. Some people will call it controversial, but I believe in this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take off the valve stem here. I'll let all the air out. I'm putting green slime in this stuff. I will never use this stuff onto a tire that doesn't have a tube. It just makes a big mess. If you do get a puncture and you gotta go get it fixed, this stuff is everywhere. But this stuff works really good inside of a tube. Phone's ringing. I'll be right back. All right, I got interrupted there for a second, but anyway, we're putting green slime in. I'm gonna put half the bottle. Well, I ran out of battery while I was trying to put this in, but I put half the bottle in and should be good. That pretty much completes the dedicated video to getting new brakes in here, a tire and a tube. And we're gonna move on to the next tire in the next video. So see you then.